Right, let's do it. Hello everyone, sorry I was expecting an introduction to play there and it didn't, and I realised it was just me sat here looking at the camera. Apologies. Hello everyone, good afternoon, welcome to Carrow Road for Norwich City against West Brom, the Championship opener, and we have the team news right on cue. And it's an interesting Norwich City lineup today, and here it is Vladan Kovacevic in goal. Kellen Fisher starts for the Canaries, right back. Harry Darling and Jose Cordoba, the defensive duo, with Ben Krezene left back. Pelle Matson and Kenny McLean at the midfield two. It's Andre Brooks on the right. On the left is Paris Magoma, with Anis Ben Slimani behind Mo Toure. The subs bench: Grimshaw, Stacey, McConville, Wright, Diallo, Field, Alves, Schwartau and Chris Goran. So Papa Amadou Diallo makes the bench for the Canaries. So just to run through that for you again: Kovacevic in goal, Fisher, Darling, Cordoba and Krezene the back four, Matson and McLean the midfield two, Brooks on the right, Magoma on the left, with Anis Ben Slimani behind Mo Toure. And the bench: Grimshaw, Stacey, McConville right, Papa Amadou Diallo makes the bench, Field, Alves, Schwartau and Chris Goran, who's shaken off his knock as well. We'll get that team scrolling at the bottom of the screen as well if you join us late and you've just missed it. Paddy Davitt is alongside me, back from a nice holiday in Ireland, Pad. Very well deserved.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, interesting team news. I guess the highlights there: Fisher starts, Magoma on the left, Papa Amadou Diallo on the bench. You take your pick of where you want to start.
Well, it certainly underlines for me how highly rated Kellen Fisher is. That there's no easing him back in the same fashion as Jallo, Cernach, et al. Straight back in, week's training, and that'll do for me, Kellen. You're my main man at right back. And as you rightly say, wasn't here for MK. You'll have to tell me whether Stacey is a bit harshly done by. From what I can gather, it was pretty much Norwich were toying with MK, so I'm not sure that would have tested him defensively too much. But nevertheless, pre that injury, just before the Wimbledon friendly, I think most people would have expected Fisher to emerge as the starting option for this game, the opening day of the league season, if both were fit and available. Both are fit and available. So looking forward to that, in what is an interesting defensive unit now. It feels like maybe McConville is going to just have to bide his time a little bit. And it's a measure of the strides Harry Darling's maybe made in pre-season. I watched that presser you had with Philippe yesterday, and I think it was towards the end he was talking about, everybody can now see that there's one or two have taken a step forward. He didn't want to name them. It's evident Harry Darling is in that bracket. So, and then top end of the pitch, I'll probably bowl that back to you. I mean, is that a little bit harshly done by Schwartau to come out from the homer, or is that just, again, as he alluded to yesterday, horses for courses? Maybe he's seen something in the West Brom setup. I know it's a different head coach, and I know maybe it's slightly different players, but my mind is just drawn to West Brom here. Last season, in the FA Cup particularly, he was very good that day, wasn't he, Mahoma? That was one of his first outings in green and yellow. So if he hasn't seen too much difference in terms of the West Brom approach, maybe there's some reason there why he's gone Mahoma as opposed to Schwartau. And Jallo, that's real positive news, because in a post-Ahmed world, the sense is they will do another one in that area. But to have him available, making 20s, hopefully making 11s in the weeks ahead, that's massive, because it does feel like he is the profile of player that, if you look on the right-hand side with Andre Brooks, that Clement wants. I think Jallo is, of the currently fit and available options, the go-to if he was ready to start games of football, which he clearly isn't just right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go to this comment from Basil the Cat, very intelligent cat, saying West Brom are in a 4-4-2. Suggestion Norwich maybe will have more possession. If that is the case, then it probably is going to be a game where Paris Magoma may well be quite suited to. And I think Krezene as well, we've seen probably gears to his game in terms of his running power and his ability to go out wide. So I think you still retain that width doing that. And may well be quite a decent call. And my mind goes back to that FA Cup game as well, where Magoma was in particular very good that day. So maybe there's a factor. But equally, there probably is that point as well, variation. I mean, you look at the bench, and we've had loads of comments speaking about, what a strong bench it is, considering maybe some of those in the trenches towards the back end of the campaign, with all due respect to the players who were on there at the time. But particularly when you read out names like Jacob Wright, Papa Amadou Diallo coming back, Matthias Chriskor and Oscar Schwartau, and then obviously Jack Stacey, Field, McConville, Alves, of course, as well. There is more options, and of course I put this to Clement, wrote about it in my column today as well. If Norwich get to a stage where they have Sienat's back, Makama back, let's drop another winger into the mix as well. Forson obviously not on the bench. Lots of options there who could potentially come in and disrupt this team. And so every week there is probably going to be choices where we raise our eyebrows and go, what about this player and that player? And that's going to be something to manage, but also from a footballing perspective, it does give you that ability to, switch things up depending on the opponent. And like you say, potentially, Paris Magoma on the left. We saw it in the closing stages of the game, yet they played on to last week. Has the potential to be a really interesting one, I think.
Well, in that point you make, he again touched on it yesterday. He put 60 games on it, which, when I listened to that, I thought, well, he's fancying a few cup runs and maybe a playoff run as well, if you tally those games up. But he's right, over a 60-game type block of the season. It's been proven season in, season out, but you can't go into it with the mindset that there's 11, 12, 13, 14 regulars, and then you're hoping a little bit. You need to get to where Norwich hope to get now under this head coach, the ownership group. You do need that depth that's been touched on by a lot of the watchers today on the bench. The ability for 60 minutes on the clock. This is a tight game. I think it probably will be a tight game. Clement turns round. He's got Schwartau, Jallo, maybe even Chris Gordon to impact it. Jacob Wright. That's the level he needs to be able to turn to in terms of the squad to impact. I mean, how many games last season under Clement were decided in maybe the final 20, 25 minutes or the second half more broadly? And they are, more often than not, the teams who are fighting it out for the promotion spots have that strength in depth to cope with injuries, to cope maybe with players who haven't quite hit their stride, because it's that competition element. Now today, Mahoma comes in. He knows Schwartau has done more than enough in the last 6, 7, 8 months under Clement that he has to be at a decent level. Slimani equally. Or they're going to come back out the side because there's no sentiment with this guy. All he wants is to put a team on a pitch week in, week out, good enough to prevail and build that momentum that we all hope is going to lead to a very successful season.
Indeed. Let's bring you that West Brom team then that we spoke about. It is, by looks of it, a 4-4-2. They've got O'Leary in goal. Galvez, Phillips, Campbell and Styles are their back four. Whitwell, Horn, Myra, Diakite and Price, the midfield four, with Hegebo and Morgan, the front two. Their South bench, Ingram, Williams, Mepham, Bielik, Townsend, Inzagula, who has signed this week, Johnston, Malumbi and Stewart. So, West Brom, of course, in slightly different shape to maybe what we saw last time, which was that FA Cup game, and also that game at the Hawthorns, of course, where Norwich ran riot that night, didn't they? And won 5-0 pretty handsomely. And I think probably most people felt West Brom were going to go down. It was only because of James Morrison subsequently. Matt Gill obviously there as well, and we can see him actually by the standards. I hope you caught up with him over the summer as well. It is a different. It feels like a different proposition today in terms of what West Brom may offer. They won 4-1 last week in their Carrow Cup game against Rotherham as well. So, probably fair to expect a very different game this afternoon. Yeah,
certainly Gilly will know plenty about Norwich. When we had a chat with him in the summer, he was talking up how that period post Rangers had allowed him to get back here, trying to keep his children on the green and yellow path. But there'll be no divide loyalty today, clearly. But he saw quite a lot of that Clement transformation. So you can guarantee he will be fully briefed, as will Morrison. And I think this will be a tight affair today. And whether West Brom will be one of those who are fighting out with them for that top 8 bracket, time will tell. But I think we can dismiss the rabble they were when they went to the Hawthorns in January, wasn't it? I know, different management, but they were very poor that night. And at that point, you thought they were heading the same direction as Leicester. So just underlines the job that Morrison did.
Points deduction as well.
And that as well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So maybe not quite to the levels of Clement, but clearly, as it feels here, there's been a turnaround plan, and now it's looking forward and looking upwards. You get the sense maybe West Brom are in that phase as well. So, I think. But what I liked yesterday with Clement, again, when you asked him about the West Brom threat, it was, again, as he likes to do, pivot it back towards, well, let's worry about us. Let's try and do what we want to do to affect the game. And that lineup, to me, suggests that's what they're trying to do. If Norwich can impose themselves on West Brom, yes, of course, West Brom will have their periods, no doubt. But it's really about Norwich today. It's how positive as they were, within first 15 to 20 minutes last weekend. Can they really set the tone early and bring this crowd with them? And then we get off to a very, very good league start because, I can see West Brom being one of the clubs, maybe not right at the top end of the table, but certainly in the top 10 conversation,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd be pretty shocked if they had, the type of year that they had last year. Someone's asked just very quickly, let me do this in a word, your reaction to that Cardiff Cup draw?
Disastrous.
There you go. Look, really interesting Norwich team, and probably the first opportunity.
Do you want to clear this one up, Connor?
Of course.
What actually was it?
It was all from memory ankle. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Because that was the training session one where, as it was told to us, he's essentially walked back to defend a phase in training, and I think Clement said he kind of jumped for a header and landed awkwardly on another teammate's foot and had rolled his ankle, and it was due to be 6 weeks, but he's come back in less than 4 or so, which is pretty good going. And I think we know what Callum Fisher is like. Probably not a big surprise. As for Darlan Yongwa, expecting him to be here today, but as we sort of understand it, there's going to be a game after the game between a lot of players here who aren't involved today. So Antti Sienats and others, I'm sure, will be involved in that.
Clear that last one up, mate.
As well. And for Jovan Makama, he's back in individual training. It sounds like he's getting pretty close now to a collective return. Errol Mundle-Smith, who also hasn't been mentioned, is also individually training. Sienats, as we referenced, will play in that game. Obviously, played in the internal game last Sunday and the friendly, so I think there's a sense he's coming back. I'd maybe look at that game at Cardiff for him and probably Yongwa as well, and maybe some of those others returning. So, I think there's a sign that slowly but surely there are a few coming. And obviously, Paddy, that probably brings us nicely onto Papa Amadou Diallo. And I guess we can tie this with the news that got confirmed in the last 24 hours about Matej Jurasek and Norwich's wide search generally. I mean, Philippe Clement yesterday was very clear. He wants an addition. And
just
Norwich
definitely
just the one. Yeah, not two. And the reasons for that, Diallo, Sienats, I think Makama can play there. Obviously, Magoma's playing there today. So Schwartau, Forson's still in the building. I think pre-Jurasek, there was 34 players in that squad who have championship appearances under their belt. So that goes to speak about the size. Obviously, there's financial restrictions as well in terms of SCR. So all of that to be taken into consideration. But Diallo back in on the bench is very positive news from a Norwich perspective.
Absolutely, he could be. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. He could be the kingmaker, I think, on the left-hand side. Just because, as I said earlier, you look at why they went for Brooks in the summer, because they didn't have that profile of player in the building. And I look at the left-hand side, and I know it's a small sample. It's almost this stage of last season. We all remember the League Cup game away at Watford when he was, for 45 minutes, you thought, what a player this lad's going to be. The fans had a chant for him already after that Vicarage Road cameo, and you thought, here we go. And then the theme of quite a lot of last season.
He was in a Manning team as well.
I didn't want to mention that, but it was. That was probably the high point for that man. But you thought, a player who wants to get the ball, who wants, like Brooks, immediate first thought, back up my full-back into the box, make something happen, get a shot off, create something. So I can see a lot of symmetry between those two profiles of winger. And the reality is he's barely kicked the ball under Clement. I remember Clement, as he was coming back from whatever latest injury last season, talking up how he knew all about Jallow, as in at his previous clubs. He was well aware of him, couldn't wait to work with him. Well, now he's got a proper opportunity. They've really managed his body back to this point that he's fit and available now. He's trained all week. He's on the bench. Hopefully the game state allows we see a little bit of him today. And I just think if you can just manage him from a physical point of view, that's an exciting addition to that left-hand side, because I think it's very evident Schwartau he's not a square peg in a round hole. He's better than out on the left-hand side, but it's not his natural game to get the ball, go inside or go outside a fullback. Jallow is very much a winger in that sense. So in a post-Ahmed world this season, with the caveat that they clearly are looking now to do one, as Clement confirmed to you yesterday, but in the shorter term, Jallow back in the mix, hopefully Cernach in not too far order. That's a real positive, because I look at this squad and I look at some of the areas and you think, they'll be all right there right now. You still feel in those wide areas. And even Brooks, let's be honest, he's only still coming back from the issue he had at the back end of last season, the knee ligaments at Sheffield United. But it's those wide areas, really, where they still look a little bit light if, heaven forbid, they got another fitness-related issue.
Yes, I mean, it was interesting. For those who haven't watched Philippe Clement's press conference, you can go and do that on our YouTube channel after we're gone as well. You should have plenty of time before kickoff to put that in. And speaking around the Eurosec stuff and on different profiles of player, kind of said they've probably got not too many, but maybe options ahead of Matej Eurosec in terms of players who look for that final pass. Magoma being, I think, one of the ones that he mentioned. Slimani is as well. Andre Brooks is a different profile, more direct, more of a runner. I think you would put Diallo closer to Brooks on that kind of spectrum than you would to Jurasek. So if we're going to go in terms of profile, I could see it being more towards the Brooks type of profile for an incoming as opposed to maybe obviously what they've just let go, because it would be pretty pointless to go like for like when Clement said what he said yesterday about that.
Yeah, and he was good. That was a good line of questioning from you that in terms of why they've made this decision. We had we were watching it to go and spend some time when they were in their 6-day London camp, and at that stage, and that's only now feels a longer time, but it was only 3 weeks ago. There was no sense of Jurasek being let out of the building. The sense was the alternative, that he was, for the first time, probably at a physically level that he could be a viable option. But it's very evident, and Clement, underscored it for me yesterday. He's not the profile, but he inherited him. He's not a player who he would have necessarily, had he been sanctioned the deal for Matej Jurasek. I mean, that's evident. And when he talked about, he's not somebody with the dynamism to go in behind and run in behind. He wants the ball into feet. He wants to feed it through for others to make those runs. Well, that's not what Clement wants in that area of the pitch. It's evident. So it's a surprise that it's accelerated as quickly as it did, and they've decided it for all parties. It's better maybe he goes and plays football, but equally that now does just underscore for me what Clement wants in those wide areas. It's Brooks, it's Jallo, it's Ahmed when he was fit. It isn't Jurasek, and I don't think it is necessarily Schwartau. So, and Mahoma can obviously do that. Cernach could do that role, maybe even Makama, although now you would hope he is very much a number 9 option. So, yeah, that ability to really stretch the play, be good in transition, good in counter attacks. You need dynamic players in those wide areas, and Matej Jurasek, for whatever he is, that's not him. So, it felt an uneasy alliance for me, and now they've dissolved the partnership, and we'll see where it goes from here. But if he never came back, would I be surprised? No, because I don't think he's a Clement type of player.
No, I would agree with that, and obviously we'll keep you covered with every twist and turn. It definitely won't be Rabbi Matondo, though. There was some links to him last night. I think he worked with Clement at Rangers. He's a player that Norwich have been interested in the past, but yeah, not for right now. We've got our poll going, as you can see in the bottom right. Just Paddy's not quite, or it's not quite covering Paddy, but just down there, you can comment 1, 2, or 3, depending on what you think the result will be, which is maybe pertinent because we're going to come on to our predictions and how we see it going. The competitive action starts. It's only right that we get these going as well. Again, I think probably not that we tracked it last season, but I would say we were probably stronger on outcomes maybe than actual results. So we'll look to try and improve this year. How do you see this going today, Paddy? I mean, you've already said you think it's going to be a bit of a tight one.
Yeah, I do. You'd love to start with a bang, wouldn't you? But it always still feels they're in a bit of a holding pattern at this stage of the season. Things are still really coming together. There's obviously a lot of continuity. That's the positive from last season to this, be it Clement and his coaching staff or a lot of the playing staff. So maybe less feeling that we're still going to take time to get going. And obviously they had that very, very good run out last week when it was a competitive fixture. So, but having said all that, I do think West Brom have vastly improved from where they were when Norwich played them at the start of this calendar year. I could see a draw, but I'm going to go positive and just edge Norwich 2-1 win. You, Connor?
Yeah, I'm not going to go. Rogue's probably a bit strong, but I'm going to go for goals today. I've got a sense there might be a few. Open day. I mean, it's not thankfully as hot as it was over the last couple of days, but there's always a kind of sunshine and excitement in the air. So I'm going to go for quite a high scoring one, maybe in contrast, but it's quite tight on scoreline. We had a 4-3 a couple of years ago. I'm going to go for a 4-2 in Norwich's favour, but I think it'll be quite ding-dong, 1-1 at the other end, and Norwich score quite late to seal it. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a 4-2 and quite high scoring, which feels like quite a bold way to start the season. But, yeah, there we go. Pinkin.com, the place to go throughout the afternoon. We'll have all the coverage, analysis and reaction to this game. Paddy will be speaking to Philippe Clement. I know Philippe is looking forward to seeing Paddy because he's referenced the fact you've not been there in the last 2 press conferences. So, I think he'll look forward to seeing you. We'll have all of our usual stuff, our podcast as well later across the weekend. We're back. It's a start of a new season, and let's hope for Norwich City it's a very positive one. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your Saturday, be it here or elsewhere, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.